This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is a quickie on the Star Trek Day. I had Star Trek Day. I know it's Star Trek Day 3 years ago. We were on this. We were doing something else. We were doing Robotech meets Transformers during it, so didn't get the chance to chime in on Star Trek Day. It is 3 days later, but I did mention it during the Lower Decks reviews. I saw their little 22-minute commercial for it, and it's rather lame, but okay. It's the guy from the host was the guy from played Ransom on Lower Decks. Nice enough guy, but he's married to the lady from the other show But yeah, I mean, but it was kind of lame because it was like all of the newer stuff started around 2017, like Discovery and Strange Worlds and Lower Decks, and didn't mention Prodigy at all. It's kind of messed up. Was another one. Of course, it didn't mention mine. It almost did though. They had some dumb. Yeah, they had some cute stuff. Yeah. So yeah. I want to know what Star Trek did. I think it would have been better had they mentioned more of the classic stuff, at least some TNG footage that wasn't from a silly episode, or they mentioned some Deep Space Nine. We'll give them that. They mentioned a wee bit of Next Generation and a lot of Kirk, a lot of the animated show. It's nice, but there was the earlier one before that had the Kirk's about to step on Spock. That's in there. Yeah, so this is kind of a pseudo review of that, but like if you're gonna do, it's sort of like when they did the 50th anniversary and they didn't do anything except some of the fans did at some conventions. It's kind of like that, but now it's the 57th. They have to get their act together by the 60th. Now here are our fan films on the Chimera channel, and so I guess I don't know where I post this. This wouldn't be on the Chimera channel because it's not actually anything new about the Cameo thing. It's not really. I'll just put it on the main one. So I'll just put it on the regular one. A note that the Chimera thing will begin pre-production after the Robotech thing. Yeah, a couple of weeks away, and because we're not SAG-AFTRA and we're not WGA, we can do stuff. I know there's some other YouTubers that are complaining that we should just be in solidarity and they shouldn't do anything with those guys, or watch Netflix or watch Disney or to avoid them altogether. It's like no, you don't have to do that. It's not going to do anything to them if you don't watch your YouTube stuff. Just keep watching your YouTube stuff. It's fine. Although my fan films, the Robotech one does mention at the beginning a solidarity type disclaimer thing saying that we are not in the SAG or the AFTRA of the other one, and because we're not, we can keep doing fan films. So it does say that, and the creators and the writers need to get paid. So go pay them to get it done. You got enough money in studios, so we're for the writers and the actors. We if we had any skin in the game, which we don't, if we had any like. They've done some mini short treks they were advertising, as well. And one of them's kind of funny. That I saw one of them, but the Kirk doing expressions, he would have never done that. But it's like silly trek, so it's fine. And not everything that's aired is canon. Way too much. The first 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery were kind of a mess. They were advertising that Michelle Yeoh TV movie thing because not just the fans but the production people as well said you can't make a Section 31 series. It's not interesting enough. It's the premise of the Star Trek 5 idea. If you it's two things. It's that one first. It's okay. If Kirk goes to see God and punches the Holy Energy Universe, goes to see God, it can't be God. It's just, that's dumb. same idea. If you take a clandestine spy organization and make them everywhere, it's no longer cool. Yeah, having them have like special badges and stuff is defeating the whole point of them being spies. Oh, ship. Why would they really have spies? It made sense in Deep Space Nine because they had the Maquis and they had like terrorist spin-off group there hanging around and temporal agents and stuff. So it made sense that in that show where there were tensions with the main characters, they would have to have a spy organization to make sure that stuff wasn't going down the wrong way. See, that's why they did that. Yeah, I think we've been over the Kal Kat thing, where the Kal Kat comes from, the Brown and Yeager, Adam Brown, John Yeager. That are our stuff. We wrote a couple of stories back in the 90s, 96 or so, for a Star Trek writing contest, basically. Were eventually rejected. I found those rejection letters years later and determined that we had over-embellished what they said. They were form rejection letters, and basically they were sent out to everybody. And it didn't say that didn't say stuff like, "Oh, keep your writing; it's really good." They didn't say that. They just said, we got your form thing, and we're sending your script back, and here's your script, and thanks for writing to us, and yeah, have a nice day. Basically, it was not that impressive. So yeah, we didn't keep them, but that was back when you could write for Star Trek, and they stopped doing that as of Enterprise. I think the end of Star Trek Enterprise they stopped doing that because they had to save Enterprise. I was in that. Save Enterprise. We were in that. Didn't work. The Star Trek Enterprise, which they didn't mention at all in this background thing. It was almost 4 years of it. Longer than the original series, original air. 4 years. Also over there in Trek Yards, they were mentioning the Voyager model they made for the Voyager movie, or the Voyager episode of Lower Decks. They did do the bridge wrong in the animated version. They made it too big. I've been on the bridge. It's not that big. Well, there was a mock-up of the bridge. I know somebody that was on the bridge, though. Somebody from the church that used to go to, I think he used to go to the church. I don't think he's there anymore. And he was basically the double for Harry Kim on the show, and he see the bridge. And that's cool. And he's got a picture on it and all that. So that's cool. And he got to act beside Genevieve Bujold before they replaced her with Kate Mulgrew. The stand-in for Garrett Wang. That's cool. Stand-in for Garrett Wang, playing Harry Kim on the show. But the Voyager sets are very small. They used the battle bridge. They used the literally the next gen Enterprise D battle bridge set. That's what they used. So they just redressed it. Well, they completely rebuilt it, but they used the floor of the battle bridge. Also, we were wrong on the comment about the Picard show during the making of that. And they must have gotten a hold of the one set they didn't destroy, that they took apart for the Trek experience, which I was on multiple times. I was on that enough that I was a volunteer back in the day. One summer, for like a day, I was on the. That was fun. Also, there was the fans thought I was related to Tom Paris, which is funny. So in the Star Trek Chimera fan film, I played the character of Tom Paris and Nick Locarno. So just to throw everybody off. The fan films are coming back. There's another one in production, pre-production. It will be the final season of Starship Locations, and it will be called Destinations, will be the subtitle. And it is roughly an 8-part miniseries event with different episodic episodes, including those 2 scripts from back in the day in the 90s that were rewritten for a modern audience. So for now. Yeah, so those 2 stories are in there, and we're going to do them. And that's awesome. So new Star Trek from from our group over here. Coming soon. Yeah. And of course, last season, a Raxler with a beard was trying to give away something from Lower Decks and saying like, "Oh, if I was in the Lower Decks, I would be on the ship and then I'd get shot with a phaser." But that'd be funny. And guess what they did in the season premiere of Lower Decks? The character looks just like me, but with a mustache. He's in 10 forward on the, or whatever the Cerritos' 10 forward is. And they come in and there's like an attacker on the ship. He's attacking the ship. Creatures are coming around and they're two-vixing everybody. And one of them shoots the kind of balding dude with the mustache. Blasts him with a phaser and stuns him. Ah! That was my Lower Decks episode. That was fun. Yeah. Cool. All they got to do is let me write an episode, but they won't because they do not accept fan submissions. But they did accept that idea. They said, "Yeah, we'll do that." No. I wouldn't be surprised if they had the other guys show up. The Red Letter Media guys should show up too. But yeah, I don't know them, but it'd be cool. But yeah. So in the 2016 era, there was the infamous Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Uncharted, Mike Gammel's story, which is part of the background of the beginnings of Discovery. Really, the last movie they did was Star Trek Beyond, but he had nothing to do with it. But they thought he did because he had the same name on his website. So everybody was flocking to his website, and they did interviews and everything. 40th anniversary, 50th anniversary. Turns out he didn't know anything at all. He got a rejection letter. He got a cease and desist from Paramount telling him, "Yeah, we're going to take that title. Well, we want that for our movie. We're going to take it. You're not going to pitch for Star Trek. That's ridiculous." Thought he was going to pitch for Star Trek. But later on, some of his stuff ended up in Starship Locations and in other places. And a long story short on that one is one of the episodes of this season of Starship Locations Destinations is a Gammelt episode. So he did pitch, but not for Star Trek. A Star Trek parody, which makes a heck of a lot more sense. But yes. And we only took the premise and ran with it. So didn't pay him. Didn't pay anybody. It was written there before the writer's strike, so before and near the beginning of it. One other story that we wrote during the writer's strike was the Distant Destinies story. But that was during, and I don't think that happens either because we're not in the WGA, we're not in NAFTA, so don't need to worry about it. But yeah, I wonder how these other shows are going to even happen because they don't have writers to do like procedurals and cop shows and action shows and soaps. Somebody writes soap operas. They're not scripted. They're scripted. Even certain reality TV shows are scripted. They just kind of make it look like they're not. Without scripts, it's going to be a wasteland for like a couple years. So our fan films will climb up the ladder there. So the Star Trek 57th anniversary thing was kind of lame, and they needed to. Well, they had some fans in there, and that was nice. It seems also the representation is a little off in that it seems they're pandering a little bit, and they shouldn't be. Let's give the even beloved Star Trek alum David Gerrold, who wrote The Trouble with Tribbles, who we saw at a convention of the Silicon Valley Comic Con last year, or was it before last? Last year. That's when that was. So we saw him, but I saw him several years earlier before the pandemic. He got his Tribble script, and so I was going to make a fan film. And I got to see him. We got to see him again, and so we made our fan film, and wanted to check it out. Here's our channel. Go check it out. He watched the trailer. And then the next day he was there at the convention again, and he saw the trailer. That's about it. He said, "Oh, that's clever. That's cute. That's fun." But yes, he wasn't. But what he was annoyed about was Star Trek Discovery not doing it right. Because if you've seen his fan film Blood and Fire, he said, "Don't try to do that; it's too hard. Don't do, and you wouldn't be able to pull it off." No, we wouldn't. Um, no, we wouldn't do Blood and Fire. That's already been done. That became a TNG episode about the alien drug that was on the planet, and the two guys were fighting over the alien drug, the siliciums and whatever. Yeah, yeah, that became that one. But yeah, and then it was then they made a Star Trek Phase 2, I think, episode out of it, and Blood and Fire, and he kills off the gay character at the end. He births the gay character, even though he's LGBT friendly. And he's like, I don't like what they did with Discovery. Don't talk about Discovery because they ruined it. So so Stamets and Culber are basically characters from David Gerrold, who he doesn't like what they did with him. He doesn't like that they brought back Culber as a god, and then just ignored it afterward and said like, okay, he came back as a god, but they ignored that afterward. Now he's just a human again. It's like, okay, that's lame. Like, okay, you found a Q sort of way to bring back Culber, but that's lame. Well, that was kind of what he was getting at. What he really said is he just didn't want to talk about Discovery. John and Mark's cards, and I inferred that's the rest of it was. Yeah, because if you're gonna do the Blood and Fire story, then do that. But we're not doing that. But yeah, the it's Blue DeBarrio's fine on there. And the other kid on there. They're young people. They're gender fluid. They're on there. That's fine. In fact, Starship Locations even has a similar kind of character on there. Well, the twist with Starship Locations is that the Locarnos have a daughter who is gender fluid. Yeah. And in this universe, apparently, the Chimera universe, Nick Locarno and Tom Paris are actually twin brothers. Locarno went to live with his mother, and Paris went to live with his father. They were split up at birth, and they followed similar career paths in Starfleet. And Locarno wasn't as redeemable, and of course Paris went off to be on the Voyager, and came back and was redeemable. And Locarno's twist was that during the Dominion War, Locarno was in the Dominion War, and that's when he redeemed himself, because he saved the Starship Exeter and crew when the captain was incapacitated and the bad guys were attacking. They went down to auxiliary control and managed to rend the ship out. And also we brought back Ceto Jaxa and said like she was on a Cardassian prison planet with him. See, the Exeter had rescued him and Ceto Jaxa and two young people from the planet, Crass and Mahoney, who would later be officers on Locarno's ship, the Chimera. And then now it's the Chimera A. It's set 16 years after the Starship Chimera fan film from 2019, which was awesome. We did a fan film too in 2019. Yes, we did. Starship Chimera. That was great. It was a 3-part mini-series. It's three 50-minute episodes. And it's set the TNG period with Next Generation and DS9. It's basically Star Trek Picard has been trying to do that for 3 years, 3 seasons. They should have just copied it. But yeah, so ours is actually way cooler. But yeah, and I didn't mind certain elements of Picard 1, 2, and 3. It just needed something. I'm not saying it needed us necessarily, but it needed something. It was not really, yeah. And the new one has all that they do that new technique. Well, the room's got to be dark. They got to be off to the side, this or that, No, it doesn't have to be dark. A less edgy comedy is probably better. And why did they not, in the special, what did they not mention? They didn't mention Prodigy, just because it had been canceled. Why didn't they mention Prodigy? Prodigy is actually kind of a brilliant little thing. 20 episodes of a sort of a Delta Quadrant sequel to Voyager, where they were the hologram Janeway and these alien children were on the ship. It's basically alien children find a ship and commandeer it, which is remarkably similar to the plot of Star Trek Galaxy, from Mike Staloska at Red Letter Media, and Rich Evans and Jay Bownham, which is interesting. We also did one of an homage to them as well in the Starship Location Season 1 about 3 years ago. We had 2 characters, Rich and Mike. We gave them different last names, but they're clearly them. And Rich, I think we called him Rich Everson, and Mike, Mike, oh, what did we call that guy? Matthews, maybe. Yeah, just to change the names. Yeah, they know about us, and they're like, well, why don't and Rich and him commented, I'm a Lore, and you're the Neelix to Rich's. Lore and Neelix, actually. Jay Bownham at one point commented on their website about that too, and he said, why am I not included in that guy's fan film? You will be this season. We had to find a proper character for you. But yes, fan film. Not for real though. We'll have to play you because I don't think we can pay you. If I play you, I pay. Yeah. So nobody can get paid. Fan films are free. They go up online. They're free. So yeah, Star Trek Day. Yeah, I'm gonna ramble on about that in as brief as possible. It's already been over about the fan film story and all that stuff. And I had to make a few new ships for the story. I had to make a few new ones. Not as big as the other hero ships that are in the closet right now. They literally are in the closet back there. And including LGBT friendly characters is always a fun thing. The Tribble Queen is sort of divine in the story, but she gets blown up. But on the Klingon ship, but at least yeah. So Locarno. So I always thought that silly season 8 Deep Space Nine premiere. Nobody really liked that. A bunch of the creators got together and said like, let's kill off Nog right away. Just ironically, before Aaron Eisenberg, the actor, actually died. So they're like, oh, that was bad. Why'd we do that? But they also had like Ezri Dax married to Bashir because they had a love scene in the finale. It's like, why would they end up? They wouldn't end up together. They absolutely would not end up together. No, Ezri's got a different life. It's completely different. No, Ezri ends up with Nick Locarno. She becomes Captain Locarno of the Chimera A. Yeah, so he's a rear admiral now. But yes, and they have a daughter. Yeah, they have a daughter, Tamara. But yes, and Kestra. Well, Kestra Riker is in it too as a teenager. They're both in it. They're off to the academy in this one, so that's her. Or not to the Starfleet Academy. They're on their way there, and will they get there? We'll find out. That's the whole story arc. Will they get there? Travel to all the silly Trek planets on their way there, which we haven't actually done in a fan film. They've always been in our Stillian Realm stories. It's exciting to actually go to the Silian planets we talked about in Silian Realms for 5 years. It'd be fun to actually go there and say, what does Planet Far Out actually look like? Well, you're going to find out. We're going to go with this weird planet Far Out where the Endoverites are, and the Alien Society and all that, and the Pinehillians, and find out about that. And the origins and destiny of the... It's actually tied into the Planet of the Fallen One story from 2 seasons ago, second season, because they refer to some of the Pinehillian stuff, like the Churchers and the Jocks of Pine Hill and the religiosity ones and the aliens and the Elysians of following the Elysian, Libby McClanahan character and all that. And they made a hint of this season 3 years ago in that episode, in that series, when they said, well, not only that, but they said there was a war or a conflict going on with the Dominion. The Dominion was back. Because why wouldn't they be? Why would Odo touching their heart just do that? There's a conflict going on. It's not an overarching destroys the Federation thing because that's dumb and lame. Let's do an overarching destroy the Federation. No, just some of the Federation. Also, yeah, they're not. The whole Federation's not threatened this time. That's lame. Don't do that. Don't do that in your sci-fi story. It's not interesting because the main characters are not really going to destroy the Federation. So, so these different alien groups mentioned in this story that there was a war, and because the Planet of the Fallen Ones is transported to the time of Star Trek Discovery season 3. That's when it was on the air. So they were transported to the planet in season 3, and they remark on this event that happened, 600 years earlier or whatever, and something like that, 608 and 8, something like that, about 500, 600 years earlier, and that would be now. That would be 2404 or so, 2400. Yeah, about 600 years earlier. So that's this event they're referencing in the distant future, and then they go back. They're at a wedding in that episode. That was the bumpers of that one. The wedding was of Mirel Paris, who was an adult, who is now in her 20s, marrying another person on the ship. Yeah, I think I made it Molly O'Brien. It's just funny. I had Molly O'Brien, who would be slightly older, marrying Molly O'Brien, basically a O'Brien girl, marrying Tom Paris's daughter, which was funny. Just to be, well, not to insult them, but to be fun, to be 24th century. They're okay with that. It's all good. It's all cool. So their gender, they get married. So just to do that, just to say like, okay, you're not ballsy enough when they're over at the current Star Trek. You wouldn't do this. Here, look, boom, wedding scene. These two main characters, legacy characters. Yeah, who we last saw when they were very young, but it's been like 30 years, so they're older. They sort of did that with the Picard son thing and the whole Borg thing, and I thought for sure they were going to throw the bluegills in there somewhere, and the Queen Lady was going to have the bluegill in her hand or something. Turned out it wasn't a bluegill; it was the Borg. It should have been a bluegill, actually. They didn't want to go that far, though. They thought, no, okay, we have the Queen Lady on the ship, and she's acting like the bluegill queen, the triple queen, that triple half bluegill hybrid. But she isn't really. She's a Dominion. So they brought the Dominion back. See, they're doing the same thing. They brought the Dominion back and the Borg. See, they're following us. They're following along. Following along just fine. Because they've been reading their minds and picking up on the same wavelength since 1987. Yeah. I mean, and of course it involves the Borg because guess what we were thinking of at the same time in 1987? Before they even introduced them. We were thinking of probably the Terminator, and they were too. And they're like, would it be cool if they robotic zombies with a space virus that makes people horny taking over the school, and they're all turning them into robotic zombies, and they're running around and they're powerful and we can't stop them. Yeah, that was a Silly Trek episode. Our role-playing game, playing Star Trek in Next Generation Season 1. Before the Borg. It was an episode. They weren't really Borg, though. They were the Nomads. They were more like the Nomad probe. They were like, Transformers, basically. But yeah, same idea. They were more cybernetic than Borg, but still, they were cyborgs. That's what they were. But yeah, they later came up. They also came up with the curiosity of the tossing the apple, which has been a gag since '87. It's been put in numerous versions of our stuff, including the Starcrackers fan film, the infamous live-action fan film with me and my friends done in college. Actually, Mark's Cards pointed out he was still in high school. He was like 17 or 18 in that. He was. I was like 20, 21. But we did this. We did a Star Trek fan film called Starcrackers: The Sphere of Influence, which became something else eventually. But we've been doing it. That was in the 1990s, but it didn't come out on YouTube until 2014. Because you couldn't post until later on when videos get longer. So we posted episodes of it and then the whole thing. So yeah, we've been doing fan films for years. We've been doing Transformer ones too. The fans have been clamoring for the release of the original Transformers, the grandfather of Transformers fan films, Kal Kat, will be put out, and we did this year, and mostly this year, a little bit last year. The Trans and Trans 2 original fan films from the 80s and 90s when the Transformers was on the air. Not so much the original Star Trek ones because there aren't that many, but yeah, that was cool. So they're out there. You could see those, but that's not Star Trek. Yeah, there's only Starcrackers. It's the Star Trek one. It really is a Star Trek spoof. It really is. Wrath of Khan type of thing, turned around as Next Generation. Captain Clark trying to save the ship or whatever. Modeled after a teacher from the school. Yeah. And I think the Bulmer thing. I think Mike McMahon from Lower Decks must have been at San Jose State. At San Jose State and knew about Professor Bulmer but maybe not. But Tendi and Rutherford are from Gemilt. Yeah, and a little bit of the Cillian character Sandra Talisman as well, and a little bit of the Talisman is the Tendi, and the Mariner's kind of McClenaghan. She's the Elysian. She's the Elysian's daughter and the Elysian. The Elysian's the mother. Yeah, even though the race is swapped. In the Cillian version, she's a McClenaghan. She's Clenna. She's like Irish. Oh, but in this version, she's African American, which is fine if they want to swap it. They almost made the mistake on the Star Trek thing by suggesting that Burnham is the first black female captain. They almost said it female, and then they corrected themselves like halfway through it. On this, because on a show that went longer than one gag, because in Star Trek 4, Captain of the Saratoga was a black lady. It's true. The one that had to activate the solar sail and stuff. She was a girl. She was a lady. Also, on Next Generation, there was Captain Trala Scott, from, I think, Conspiracy, was also a black lady. That captain was also black. So it isn't the first time. It ain't the first rodeo for them. It's kind of funny that one of the Trek fans was commenting on that Trek special. Oh, look, I liked it when Cisco became like a god. That's kind of silly, though, I thought. It's like, no. He's a demigod. He's not a god. He's like a Q now, or something. We do reference him in Star Trek Chimera, the fan film. He has a scene with Kira Kira goes to visit the Prophet Land in the thing, and he's there, and the Traveler is in there too. And the Traveler just can't stop thinking about Wesley. Just wants to think about Wesley. And then finally Cisco just blurts out, "Stop obsessing about that boy." And then, like, when Will Wheaton in one of the early Ready Room episodes was referenced our fan film. Yeah, it had to be us because who else would have been doing it? /story thing. Like, oh my god. Oh. Like, okay, my character was... What exactly did he say? He said something like, there's some fan films on the internet out there. One in particular where the Traveler admits his love for me, and then Picard and Riker basically chide me for not noticing that he was in love with me. And he said, I just looked at the camera and said, well, it's canon. Ew. It's canon. So Chimera is canon. According to Will Wheaton. Alright. So or at least him with the Traveler is canon. Not the fan film. Yeah. Oops. If they'd like to hire us, but it won't be a /story. Save Prodigy. I'll see you guys later. I don't know where to put this. I guess this up on the main channel. Yeah, sure.